Hey everyone, welcome to Homeschool and hope everybody are doing fantastic out there. Okay, say we have already started a chapter chemical reactions and equations where I have completed 3 parts from the chapter. The video links of these 3 parts are provided in the description. Those who have not watched it, please go watch those videos before you watch this session. Clear? And in this particular session, I'm going to discuss about the different types of chemical reactions. Okay, so our today's topic is types of. There are various types of chemical reactions actually. So few different types of chemical reactions, let us try to understand deeply. Okay, say what are the different types you have in your syllabus? See, we have combination reaction, decomposition reaction, right? Displacement reaction, double displacement reaction, endothermic reaction, exothermic reaction, reduction reaction, oxidation reaction. So altogether 8 different types of chemical reactions we have to study in our syllabus, right? These types are mentioned in our NCERT textbook, isn't it? So in this particular session, let us discuss about the combination reaction and decomposition reaction. See, decomposition reactions are the most important type of reactions actually, and let us understand both the reactions with lots of experiments, visuals, and also today I am going to show you one interesting live experiment. Okay, so just watch the video till the end and get the maximum benefit out of it, right? Okay, so let us start the first variety of chemical reaction, that is combination reaction. So the name itself says combination, isn't it? So what do you mean by combination? It is nothing but combining, right? Say combination reactions are those reactions in which two or more substances, two or more reactants will combine to give a single product. Okay, so how many reactants are they combining? Two or more than two. And how many products you will get? Always one. Always one. You may have the combination of 2 reactants. You may have the combination of 4 reactants, 5 reactants, and whatever may be. But ultimately, if you get only one product, one substance as a product, then it is called as combination reaction. Okay, first let us try to write the definition and take a paper and pen, copy down all the points. Fine. Combination reactions. So these are the reactions in which two or more reactants react, or you can also write it as combine to form how many products? Single product. To form single product is called combination reaction. So I have written definition in a much simpler way so that you can understand. You can write this definition in your exam also, right? So here the reactants are 2 or more, but the product is only 1. So such reactions are called combination reaction. So let me tell you the examples of combination reaction. Okay, so I am listing out the examples which are there in your NCERT book. So these examples can be asked in the examination. So let us try to copy down all the examples. Say example number 1. You must have seen this reaction. This is a very common reaction. You have seen this right from your basic classes onwards, right? Say carbon, when combines with oxygen, you will get carbon dioxide, right? Say this is one reactant, this is another reactant, but see the number of products you got. There is only one substance, one molecule, that is one compound you got as a product, isn't it? So the product is only one, but the reactants are two or more. Such reactions are our combination reaction. So this is the first and basic example. And remember, whenever you write a chemical equations from now onwards, you have to mention them in a balanced form. Okay. So if you don't write balanced equations, marks will get cut in the examination. So be careful with balancing. Okay. So now I'll give you the second example. So the second example is the one which we have already discussed in our part 1 video, right? So can you remember this reaction? This is actually whitewashing powder, right? Say if you want to whitewash the walls of your house, you will get a white powder from market, right? That is nothing but calcium oxide. So in short, calcium oxide can also be called as quicklime. Quicklime in the sense calcium oxide. So whenever you add water to calcium oxide, you will get a liquid which we call it as calcium hydroxide. Calcium hydroxide, which is also called with the name slaked lime. Remember the name slaked lime. This is whitewashing liquid actually. The moment you add water to calcium oxide, this white color liquid you will get, and its chemical formula is CaOH twice. Calcium hydroxide, which is also called as slaked lime. Okay, so this is another example for combination reaction. See, substances reacting are two. Two reactants are reacting, but the product you got was one, right? So this is also an example for combination reaction. Okay, and where did we study this reaction? Yes, we can identify a chemical reaction with change in temperature, right? Whenever certain chemical reaction takes place, temperature would change. That means heat will be liberated, right? And this is the example for that. The moment you add water to quicklime, heat automatically, you feel that heat is coming outside, right? So that's how you actually tell, yes, there is some chemical reaction happening, right? So in that case, we have studied this particular example. So guys, these are the two examples that you can remember for combination reaction. So very simple reaction. Reactant side, it can be two or more than two reactants. But how many ever maybe the reactants react, always the products that you get is only one. Okay. So can you tell me whether this reaction is balanced or not? One calcium, and two hydrogens. Yes, two hydrogens, two oxygens, and here also two oxygens. So equation is balanced. So this is all about combination reactions, which are very, very simple. And now let us go to the most important type of reaction, decomposition reactions. So guys, can you tell me what is the meaning of the word decomposition? See, decomposition means breaking. So when something is getting broken, then we call it as decomposition. Okay. So now can you tell me what is the meaning of decomposition reaction? See, the reactant will be only one. You are breaking that reactant to get two or more than two products. Okay. This is just opposite to combination reaction. So in the combination reaction, what did you observe? Two or more reactants have combined, you got single product. But here, products are too many, but the reactant is single. Okay, so these decomposition reactions are just opposite to our combination reactions. Okay, so let us quickly write the definition here. So note down the definition. The reactions in which single reactant so undergoes decomposition, that means undergoes breaking. Okay, why it undergoes breaking? After it undergoes breaking, what do you get? You will get products. Okay, so the reaction in which single reactant undergoes decomposition to give two or more products, okay. So I can also write one more sentence here. They are just opposite to combination reactions, okay. So very simple reaction. These reactions are just opposite to combination reactions. And one more point that you have to remember here. See here, the reactant whatever you took is undergoing breaking. Does it break down simply? No, right? Say nothing can break down simply. And if you have to break down, you need to supply some energy. With the help of energy only, a reactant can undergo breakage. Okay. So here, energy can be supplied in the form of heating. Say when you heat, the reactant may break into products, or the energy can be supplied in the form of sunlight. Okay, there are some reactant just when you focus some sunlight, it undergoes breakage to give many products. And energy can also be supplied in the form of electricity. Okay, so remember, always a decomposition of reactant takes place with the help of energy. And here energy is supplied in the form of heating, sunlight or electricity. Clear? This point is also very important. So what am I going to write here? Energy is supplied in the form of heat, okay, electricity and sunlight. So why you have to supply this energy in the form of heat, electricity and sunlight? It is to bring breaking of reactant. It is to bring decomposition of reactant. Okay. So for decomposition of reactant. Okay. So this point is very important. And you know, based on the type of energy that you are supplying, there are three types of decomposition reaction. So based on which type of energy you are supplying, we have three types of decomposition reaction. Okay. So note down, there are three types of decomposition reactions. So all the three types of reactions are very important for examination point of view. Note down, the first type is thermal decomposition. Okay. And the second type of decomposition reaction is electrolysis. Here I am going to show you the live experiment for electrolysis. And third important type of decomposition is photochemical decomposition. Clear? So these are the three types of decomposition reaction. Now let us understand all the three different types one by one with certain examples. Okay. So first, let me start with thermal decomposition reaction. So the first type, thermal. What do you mean by thermal? Can you tell me the meaning of the word thermal here? Thermal in the sense heating. What do you mean by thermal? Thermal means heating. Okay. So the decomposition reaction that is done in presence of heating is called as thermal decomposition. I told you, no, if you want to break a reactant, you must use either heating or electricity or sunlight. So if you are using heating to break a reactant, then such a decomposition reaction is known as thermal decomposition reaction. So what is the definition I can write here? Decomposition. It is nothing but decomposition reaction in presence of heating is called thermal decomposition reaction. So let us see the example. Here I am going to give you the two examples. Both examples are very, very, very important to understand. Okay, and let us see the first example. FeSO4. Can you tell me what is FeSO4? Ferrous sulfate crystals. Okay, so these are actually ferrous sulfate crystals. Okay, and these ferrous sulfate crystals are actually green in color. They are green colored crystals. Okay, ferrous sulfate is a green colored crystals. So the moment you heat, see, I took a single reactant. Reactant is only one, that is ferrous sulfate. Okay, and the color of this ferrous sulfate is green colored. And I am heating this ferrous sulfate. Say, whenever you are heating a certain reaction, that heating should be mentioned with a symbol triangle. Okay, so if you put a triangle above the arrow mark means that you are heating this. Okay, so heating always mentioned with the help of a triangle mark above the arrow mark symbol. Okay, fine. So what are the products you will get? You will get Fe2O3. Okay, ferric oxide. So the name of this compound is ferric oxide. And ferric oxide is brown color crystals. Okay, ferric oxide is brown color crystals. Along with ferric oxide, you will get sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide gases. Okay, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. Right? So this is what the reaction. You see how many reactants are there? Only one. But how many products are there? 1, 2, 3. Right? So that's why it is called as decomposition reaction. Reactant will be single, but products are 2 or more. And how did you bring this decomposition reaction? By heating. Right? So without heating, this reaction will never happen. You have to compulsorily heat. So what did you get? It was green color. You got ferric oxide and later you got two gases, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. And these gases, they will have smell of burning sulfur. They will have smell of burning sulfur. So, whenever a sulfur burns, you will have a very bad smell actually. So, when you start heating these ferrous sulfate crystals, automatically the green crystals would convert into, brown color powder. Along with that, a very bad smelling gases will come out. So depending on the smell, by observing that bad smell, it was identified that it is sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide gases. Okay, so this is a very, very important reaction. It was mentioned in one of the activities also. You must know the color of the product and what gases you will get and what is the nature of gas. Everything is important. And let us understand this reaction with the help of a beautiful visual now.
Everyone, first let us see how ferrous sulfate crystals can look. They are green in color. Actually, ferrous sulfate is a hydrated salt which is green in color. You can see the color of ferrous sulfate, which is light green, or I can say it is sea green in color, right? And now these crystals we are taking in a test tube and we are trying to heat it. Clear? Say Bunsen burner, which will give a flame, and we are heating those green colored crystals, taking it in a test tube. So the moment you heat it, slowly this green color gets converted into a brown color. You can observe that gradually, and at the same time, very dangerous gases also would come out, and the gases are sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. You will actually feel the smell of burning sulfur. See the brown, slowly, the brown color, you got ferric oxide. Okay, so this is what actually we call it as rust. The green color has converted into brown color crystals, right? So this is what the experiment of decomposition of ferrous sulfate crystals.
So that was the interesting experiment, isn't it? So guys, observe the equation. Is it balanced? It's not a balanced equation. So you have to write the balanced equations compulsorily in the examination. How do you balance? See, one iron is there, two irons are there. So you have to balance iron in the reactant side. So you are going to put 2 here, right? So now you check it out. 2 irons, 2 irons. How many sulfurs? This 2 belongs to this sulfur also now. So 2 sulfur atoms, 1 plus 1, 2 sulfur atoms. And how many oxygens? 2 into 4, 8 oxygen atoms. This side, 3 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 3, 8. So 8 oxygens, 8 oxygens. Now the equation is balanced. Okay. So in case if I don't write balanced equations on a board, it is your duty to balance the equations in your book. Clear? Fine. And coming to example number 2. So another interesting example is there, that is lead nitrate. The formula of lead nitrate you must able to write, right? So this is the formula of lead nitrate. Clear? And this lead nitrate on heating, it will undergo decomposition to give lead oxide, and along with that one interesting product you will get, that is nitrogen dioxide. And nitrogen dioxide will come outside in the form of brown fumes, okay, plus oxygen gas. Clear? So this is how a single reactant we took, the moment you heat this, it broke or it underwent decomposition into lead oxide, brown colored nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. Okay, so let us see this reaction also with the help of a beautiful experiment.
See guys, now lead nitrate, if it undergoes decomposition, let's see what will happen. These are lead nitrate crystals, which is white in color. The same crystals, he took it in a test tube, right? Test tube was held with tongs because we have to heat it in a burner. And there is an incense stick. Say this incense stick can be used to test the presence of oxygen. We all know the reaction. Oxygen gas will get liberated, right? How do you know that oxygen is getting liberated? For that we are using this incense stick. So let's see what happens here. See, we are heating in a flame now. Slowly this white color, it burns and it gets converted into lead oxide. And you can observe the brown fumes coming outside. So slowly you will observe the brown fumes also. You will have to wait for that because it takes a quite longer time to heat this lead nitrate crystals. Okay, so slowly you can see some moisture getting created and you would observe that splitter sound also. And now actually we are testing the presence of oxygen gas because some gases are coming out from the test tube. And you can observe this brown color thing. Brown color fumes are nitrogen dioxide. Okay, brown fumes, nitrogen dioxide fumes. Now checking oxygen gas. See, if you have oxygen gas, you see the incense stick will burn with a flame. See, you can observe a flame coming out, right, with the incense stick, because oxygen is oxygen helps for the burning, right? So it helps for the burning. That's the reason you observe that flame coming out from incense stick. You can see this brown color fumes all over the test tube, right? This is the major, the product which is very, very important, that is nitrogen dioxide. So one is oxygen gas, you got nitrogen dioxide, you got, and remaining that white color thing would get converted into lead oxide. This is how lead nitrate undergoes decomposition.
So that was the interesting experiment, isn't it? So you must remember the 2 examples under thermal decomposition. Very important conceptual questions can be asked. One is the decomposition of ferrous sulfate. The other one is the decomposition of lead nitrate. Both can undergo decomposition in the presence of heating. So here you must remember what products you are getting, what is the color of the product, and everything is important only. So they can be asked as MCQ or 1 mark question. Okay, so now we will go for the second type of thermal decomposition reaction, which is called as electrolysis. Electrolysis. So the name only tells using electrolysis, using electricity, we are actually breaking the substance. Okay, lysis. What is the meaning of the word lysis? Lysis means breaking. Something that is undergoing breaking is lysis. Electro is what? Electricity. So you are breaking something with the help of which energy? With the help of electrical energy. So that's why this is called electrolysis. So how do you define electrolysis? Electrolysis is nothing but decomposition reaction. You are breaking single reactant, isn't it? It is nothing but decomposition reaction in presence of electricity. In presence of electricity. So this way you can write a simple definition for electrolysis. So the best example is water. So we all know water. What is the formula of water? H2O. So this H2O I can break into hydrogen and oxygen gases. Okay. H2O can be broken into hydrogen and oxygen gases. But this breaking is not that easy. You have to supply certain energy called electricity. Okay, so this breaking will occur only in presence of electricity. Okay, so without electricity, breaking of water is not possible, right? And now let us understand how actually with the help of electricity, we are breaking hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, for that, in your textbook, there is a very simple figure. Try to understand that simple figure. Let me draw that figure here. It's very, very important. That's the reason I'm showing this figure on the board. See, you have to take a beaker, mug, or whatever it is. And here I am taking 2 graphite rods. Okay, so this is 1 graphite rod, right? And I will take up another graphite rod. So this is our another graphite rod. Okay. So why we are taking graphite rods? Because graphite is a good conductor of electricity. Graphite can carry current from one place to another place. It's a good conductor, right? So I am taking a graphite rods. So these 2 graphite rods, what do I do is I will connect to a battery. Okay. So battery will have one positive terminal and negative terminal, right? So how do you represent a battery or a cell here? Say for example, let me take up a cell. Okay, this is a negative terminal, this is a positive terminal. So I am connecting. This is a negative terminal of a battery, this is a positive terminal of a battery. Imagine. So, the rod which I connected to negative terminal of a battery is called cathode. Yes, so all these in your basic classes you must have studied, I guess. So the rod which I connected to a negative terminal of a battery is called cathode. And the rod which you connect to a positive terminal of a battery is called anode. Okay, anode. Fine. And what will I do here is, I will keep one test tube. Okay, so this is one test tube I have kept inverted. And this is another test tube, I kept it here. Okay, and I will fill the entire beaker with water. So all this setup is there in water. So this is our water, H2O. Clear? And here I will add a little bit of concentrated sulfuric acid. Okay, or not concentrated, you can add dilute sulfuric acid also. You can add dilute sulfuric acid. So this is the entire setup of electrolysis. Say any reaction that you are doing in presence of electricity means this particular setup you must have. That means, these are called as electrodes. This graphite rods, this is actually a graphite rods. So these graphite rods are called electrodes now. Okay, so one rod is connected to negative terminal of a battery, another rod is connected to positive terminal of a battery. The one which is connected to negative terminal is called cathode. The one which is connected to positive terminal is called anode. Okay, so the moment electricity reaches water, okay, you know what happens to the water initially? Water will break up into H plus and OH minus. Okay, water will break up into ions. Okay, so your water is breaking up into charged species. It is breaking up into H plus and OH minus. Clear? And this H plus, this is a positive part of water. This H plus will go, it will go towards cathode. Okay, because cathode is a negative terminal. No, it is a negative rod because it is connected to negative part of battery, right? Always positive stuffs are attracted towards negative things, right? So similarly, the positive part of water it will go towards cathode. Okay, and the negative part of water, it will go towards anode. Okay, so the moment H plus goes towards cathode, you know, there occurs a chemical reaction called reduction. Okay, you will understand the meaning of the reduction in the later classes. Don't worry about this word now. So this H plus, since it is positive, it will go to the negative rod. Which is a negative rod? This rod. Why I am calling it as negative rod? Because it is connected to negative terminal of a battery. Okay, so there it undergoes a reaction and this gets converted into H2 gas. This gets converted into H2 gas. Okay, similarly, our OH minus, since it is a negative species, to which rod it will go? It will go to the positive rod, that is at anode. Okay, so in the anode, this OH minus undergoes a chemical reaction called oxidation. So after the reaction, you will get O2 gas. Okay, so where are you getting O2 gas? O2 gas you are getting at anode and H2 gas you are getting at cathode. Remember. Okay, and one question I'll ask you. Do you get both gases equally here? Do you get both gases in equal amount, in equal volume? No. Why? Because if you see the formula of water, more amount of hydrogen is there. Okay, so in the cathode, you know, lots of gas molecules, you know, till this much, you know, more area in the test tube is covered with more gas. Okay, whereas in the anode, only little area would cover with gas, that is your oxygen gas. So what I meant to tell you is, less amount of oxygen gas you will get and more amount of hydrogen gas you will get. Okay, because you see, you balance this reaction and check how much do you get. See, two hydrogens, one oxygen, two oxygen. So I'll balance this, and now hydrogens, how many it has become? 2 into 2, 4, and here 2. So I have to put. You see here, you know, hydrogens amount 2 molecules of H2 you are getting and 1 molecule of oxygen you are getting, right? So always more amount of hydrogen gas you will get. Once the water has broken into hydrogen and oxygen, both gases you are not getting it in equal volume, equal amount. Okay, hydrogen gas you will get it in more amount, oxygen gas you will get it in less amount. Okay, so that is the reason, you know, in the cathode side, whatever test tube you kept, no, here more gas is collected. This is actually hydrogen gas. And in the anode side, since oxygen gas is collected here, oxygen amount itself is less, no, in the formula of water. So, you know, less oxygen gas will get collected. Clear? So this is one observation you must be careful with. Okay, so let me write the point here. So first point is at cathode, you know, more H2 gas gets collected. Okay, and at anode, O2 O2 gas you will get, but how much amount? Less amount of O2 gas will get collected. Okay, so why you will get more hydrogen gas and less oxygen gas, equal amount, why you are not getting? Because it is because the reason is also very important. It is because ratio of hydrogen and oxygen in water is in 2:1 ratio. Okay, so why you are getting more amount of hydrogen and less amount of oxygen? Because the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen in water is 2:1. See, 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen only you have in water formula, isn't it? So when you have 2 atoms of hydrogen, that is more amount of hydrogen. After water got broken, obviously you will get more amount of hydrogen only. Right? So this is how water can be broken down into H2 and O2 gases. Right? Okay. So everything is okay. So why you are getting more here? Why you are getting less gas? A reason and all we studied. And what is the purpose of adding dilute H2SO4 here? The purpose is, water is a bad conductor of electricity. Okay, so to make water a good conductor of electricity, say when water becomes good conductor only, actually H plus ions can go towards cathode and OH minus ions can go towards anode. Okay, so to make water a better conductor, little bit of H2SO4 you have to add, or little bit of salt also you can add here. Okay, so what is the purpose of adding H2SO4 here? It is to make water a good conductor. Water is actually bad conductor of electricity. Okay, so to make water a good conductor of electricity, we have to add little bit of H2SO4. So this is what the activity that is relating to electrolysis, which is there in your book. Clear? And now I am showing you a live experiment, like how actually more and more hydrogen gas gets liberated and how less amount of oxygen gets liberated. All that with simple experiment, let us try to understand. See guys, this is the experimental setup that I made for electrolysis. This is the jam bottle I took. I filled with water. A pinch of NaCl I added here because we all know water is a bad conductor of electricity. To make water a good conductor, little bit of NaCl I have added. You can add H2SO4 also, not an issue. And 2 pencils I took. We all know our pencil lead is made up of graphite. Graphite is a good conductor, right? So I have sharpened the 2 ends of the pencil. 2 pencils I took. You can see one end is in the water. The other end I connected to a wires. Okay. So here the black wire is connected to a negative terminal of a battery, and red wire is connected to a positive terminal of a battery. See, one pencil lead I connected to a negative wire. That means, see, this pencil is actually acting as a cathode, right? This is a negative terminal. This pencil is connected to negative terminal of a battery with the help of black wire. Okay, and this pencil is anode because this pencil is connected to a positive terminal of a battery with the help of this red wire. Clear? So this is how, and this is a 9-volt battery I took, right? So the moment electricity passed into the water, you can see actually what has happened in the water is the water broke down into hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so hydrogen gas separated, oxygen gas separated. Hydrogen gas, can you tell me where is it getting collected? Hydrogen gas always gets collected at cathode, isn't it? At the negative terminal. I told you, I explained all these in your class, I mean in the board, right? So hydrogen gas is collected at the cathode, oxygen gas is collected at anode. And water has more amount of hydrogen. So definitely you will have more hydrogen gas. you can observe in the water, you see lots of bubbles are coming at this pencil, right? I mean the pencil which is connected at negative terminal of a battery. You can see in the water more and more bubbles and more gas you can observe in this pencil. That means this is what our hydrogen gas, and very less bubbles and very less gas you will observe in this pencil. I mean the pencil which I have taken it as anode, that is the anode is the one which I connected to positive terminal of a battery, right? So this is what the observation you have to do. And gases are colorless, you can't see with your eyes, but you can feel it. You can see the number of bubbles and the speed of gas that is coming at cathode. Definitely this gas is hydrogen. It doesn't have any color, you can't see, but you can just observe this. See, more bubbles are coming at this pencil which I took it as cathode. That means this is your hydrogen gas and this is your oxygen gas of water, right? So this is how the moment you pass the electricity into the water broke into hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen you are getting at cathode, oxygen you are getting at anode. And one important thing is more and more hydrogen gas you will get compared to oxygen gas, because in water the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen is 2:1. Right? 2 atoms of hydrogen you have, 1 atom of oxygen you have. So more hydrogen gas definitely you will observe at cathode, right? So very simple experimental setup. Even you can try at your home, with simple things. I have not used anything here. This is a 9-volt battery, 2 pencils, and I took 2 wires. See, with one pencil I connected to a negative terminal of a battery, another pencil I connected to positive terminal. See, the one which is connected to negative terminal of battery is cathode. So there you can observe more and more bubbles. That's your hydrogen gas. Okay, and this is your oxygen gas. So this is the simple experiment on electrolysis. Hope you liked the experiment. See, if you have liked the experiment, just hit a like button. Also comment in the comment section that you have enjoyed the experiment, that you have understood the experiment. Okay, say if you can give more and more positive comments, that is the boost for us. That's the main source of energy, and that makes us to do more and more things for you all. Okay, so please let me know how is my experiment and post your opinion in the comment box. Don't forget this, right? Okay, so that's all about electrolysis reaction. And now let us discuss the last type of decomposition reaction, that is photochemical reaction. Photochemical reaction. Okay, so can you tell me what do you mean by photo? Photo means light, isn't it? So the definition is very simple. Photochemical reactions are nothing but they are the decomposition reactions. They are nothing but the decomposition reactions in presence of sunlight. These reaction takes place in presence of sunlight. Okay, so such a reactions are called photochemical reactions. So the best example, I'll give you 2 examples here. Both examples are very, very important. AgCl, silver chloride. Okay, so silver chloride is actually white colored powder. This white powder, when you expose in presence of sunlight, when you keep this white powder in presence of a sunlight, slowly the color will change. White color will change into gray color. And now that gray color thing is not silver chloride. It has converted into something else. So what is that something else? Actually, the moment you keep this AgCl in presence of sunlight, it underwent decomposition. That means it has broken down into Ag and Cl2 gas. Okay. Say this is what your gray color powder. Okay, so if your white powder is converted into gray powder, then that gray stuff is actually silver. Okay, along with the silver, you will get a chlorine gas. Chlorine is a gas, it evaporates into atmosphere. So the remaining stuff is only a gray powder, that is silver. Okay, so now how do you balance this reaction? 1 Ag, 1 Ag, 1 Cl, 2 Cl. So you want to balance This Cl you will put 2 here and you will put 2 here also, right? So this is one reaction. And example number 2 is also similar to that. Instead of AgCl, if you take AgBr. So what is AgBr? Silver bromide. Silver bromide. What is AgCl? Silver chloride. Okay, so this also in presence of sunlight, when you keep, and you know, you will get Ag plus Br2. Since Br is there, you will get Br2 gas. Clear? So here also similar way of balancing, right? Both reactions are very important. You know, actually both reactions are used in photography, black and white photography. These reactions long back they were used for making black and white photographs. So I am writing they are used in black and white photography. This is also a very important point. Note it down carefully. Both reactions can be used in black and white photography. Okay, so that's all about photochemical decomposition. Clear? So we have studied combination reactions and we studied decomposition reactions and its 3 types: thermal decomposition, electrolysis and photochemical. So this is the most important topic of this particular chapter for board examination point of view. So each and every example that I mentioned is very important to understand. So with this, I complete this session. Let us meet up in the next session with one more important reaction called displacement reactions. Okay? Thank you so much.